I'll be honest, I always thought meditation was a bit of a joke. The whole idea of just sitting there and not thinking sounded completely impossible and, frankly, a waste of time. My mind was a frantic pinball machine of to-do lists, worries, and weird random thoughts. My focus was shot. I'd sit down to work on one thing, and 10 minutes later I'd have 15 browser tabs open, be answering an email that had nothing to do with my project, and just wondering where the morning went. I was convinced this was just how my brain was wired, a chaotic, inefficient mess I just had to live with. But then I found a specific, science-backed mindfulness technique that didn't involve any chanting, sitting for hours, or buying expensive cushions. It was a simple, almost mechanical practice. I started it as a total cynic, and the changes to my mental clarity, my focus, and my overall sense of calm have been so profound that I have to share it. If you've ever felt like your brain is an untamable beast, then this is for you. Let me paint you a picture of just how bad it was. I wasn't just skeptical, I was almost hostile to the idea of meditation. For me, it was in the same category as healing crystals and aura readings, something for the perpetually relaxed who had nothing better to do. My life was about action, output, and grinding. The problem was, the grind was grinding me down. My days were a complete blur of reactivity. The first thing I'd do when I woke up was grab my phone. A tidal wave of emails, notifications, and news headlines would flood my brain before I was even fully awake. I was starting every single day on the defensive, just reacting to everyone else's agenda. This lack of mental control bled into everything. At work, I was the king of starting projects, but terrible at finishing them. My mind was always looking for a distraction. The tiniest ping from my phone, a new email, or even a random thought about what I needed from the grocery store was enough to completely derail me. It felt like I was trying to drive a car with no steering wheel, just careening from one thought to the next with zero control. There's a well-known Harvard study that found our minds are lost in thought nearly half the time. For me, I'm pretty sure it was closer to 80%. The personal cost was even higher. I'd be in conversations with my family, nodding along, but my mind was a million miles away, already planning the next day's work or replaying some mistake I'd made. I was physically there, but mentally, I was gone. I was irritable, constantly on edge, and my baseline anxiety was this low, persistent hum that never went away. I wasn't really living. I was just existing, and I was so tired of it. The catalyst for change wasn't some serene moment of enlightenment. It was a moment of complete and utter failure. I was leading a huge project at work, one I'd poured months into. The final presentation was a total disaster. I was scattered. I couldn't get my points across clearly, and I fumbled a simple question from a senior manager because my mind just went blank. It was humiliating. It was the moment I realized my brain, the one tool I rely on for everything, was failing me. That night, I was desperate. I tried everything else. More caffeine to focus just made me more anxious. Complicated productivity apps, just another distraction. I even tried working longer hours, which only led to burnout. In a "what have I got to lose" moment, I remembered a podcast I'd half listened to where a neuroscientist, not some guru, was talking about meditation. He didn't use any spiritual jargon. He talked about brain networks, neuroplasticity, and measurable changes in brain structure. He described a simple practice called mindfulness meditation and framed it as attention training. That framing, a workout for your brain, was the only thing that could cut through my cynicism. So I made a deal with myself. I would run a personal experiment. No expectations, no pressure. I'd try this one simple technique for just 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks. I set a timer, sat on a chair in my living room, and prepared to be thoroughly unimpressed. I figured, at best, it'd be a waste of 5 minutes. I had no idea it would be the start of me reclaiming my own mind. The technique itself was ridiculously simple. It's a form of mindfulness meditation that's all about the breath. Here's all I did. I sat down, closed my eyes, and tried to put my full attention on the physical sensation of breathing. The feeling of air entering my nostrils, the rise and fall of my chest. That's it. Of course, my skeptic brain immediately chimed in. This is stupid. You're not doing anything. And within seconds, my mind would be gone. Did I send that invoice? What's for dinner? I really need to re-watch that show. But here's the key instruction, the part that changes everything. The goal isn't to clear your mind. That's the biggest myth out there. The goal is to simply notice when your mind has wandered, and without any judgment, gently guide your attention back to the breath. That's the whole exercise. That moment of awareness, realizing you're lost in thought, and then guiding your focus back, that is 1 rep. That's the bicep curl for your brain. Each time you do it, you are literally rewiring your neural pathways. And this is where the science gets really cool. When I started digging in, I found a mountain of research that explained what I was starting to feel. It turns out this simple practice has profound, measurable effects on the brain. First, let's talk about focus. The part of your brain right behind your forehead is the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. Think of it as your brain's CEO. It handles decision-making, emotional regulation, and focused attention. Brain scans show that consistent meditation can actually increase gray matter and thicken the cortex in this area. You are literally building up the part of your brain responsible for concentration. This is why, after a week or two, I noticed I could actually stay on a single task for longer. Studies show meditators perform better on tests of self-regulation and are better at resisting distractions. Second, the anxiety. There's a small almond-shaped region in the brain called the amygdala, our internal threat detector. It's what triggers that fight or flight response. In my pre-meditation life, my amygdala was working overtime, seeing threats everywhere, a tough email, a traffic jam, a looming deadline. Research shows that mindfulness can actually calm the amygdala down. A 2012 study by researcher Yale Johns Hopkins found that after 8 weeks of mindfulness training, participants' amygdalas showed less reactivity, even when they weren't meditating. The practice also strengthens the connection between the rational prefrontal cortex and the panicked amygdala. Basically, your brain's CEO gets better at telling your security guard, "Hey, it's okay. This isn't a tiger. Calm down." This is why I was feeling way less reactive to everyday stress. Finally, that constant mind-wandering. Neuroscientists have identified something called the default mode network, DMN. This network is active when we're just daydreaming, ruminating on the past, or worrying about the future. It turns out, experienced meditators show less activity in this network. This doesn't mean they can't think about the past or future. It just means they have more control over it. They aren't pulled into mindless chatter against their will. They can choose to keep their focus right here, in the present. My journey would have ended before it even started if I hadn't gotten past the common myths I believed. These are the same myths that stop most people, so let's bust them right now. This was my biggest excuse. I pictured monks sitting for hours on a mountaintop. The reality? You don't need that. Research shows that even super short sessions make a difference. One study found that just 13 minutes a day for 8 weeks improved attention and memory. I started with 5 minutes. That's it. That's less time than it takes to scroll Instagram or wait for your coffee to brew. Consistency is way more important than duration. 5 minutes every single day is infinitely better than 1 hour once a month. Welcome to the club. Nobody can stop thinking. That's what brains do. Like I said, the goal of mindfulness isn't to have an empty mind, but a focused one. Your job isn't to stop thoughts, it's to change your relationship with them. You learn to observe them like they're just clouds passing in the sky. You notice them, and then you let them go, returning your focus to your anchor, your breath. The moment you realize you're distracted and you come back, you just succeeded. That's the whole game. While a lot of meditation comes from spiritual traditions, the technique I'm talking about, mindfulness of breath, can be 100% secular. Think of it as a purely mental exercise, like a push-up for your brain. No belief system required. The benefits aren't based on faith. They're based on neuroplasticity, the proven ability of your brain to change with experience. The science is solid, with countless studies from places like Harvard, Yale, and Johns Hopkins confirming the effects. So how can you start? It's this simple. 1. Find a time and place. Pick a time you can be consistent, even for just 5 minutes. First thing in the morning works for me. Find a quiet spot where you won't be interrupted. 2. Get comfortable. Sit in a chair, feet on the floor, back straight but not stiff. No need to fold yourself into a pretzel on the floor, unless you want to. 3. Set a timer. Start with 5 minutes. Seriously. 4. Focus on your breath. Close your eyes. Bring all your attention to the physical feeling of breathing. Feel the air move in and out. 5. Be kind to your wandering mind. Your mind will wander 1,000 times. When it does, just gently notice it. Let the thought go without getting frustrated, and guide your attention back to your breath. That's it. That's the entire starting practice. Before I started this, I saw my mind as the enemy. It was a source of constant distraction, anxiety, and frustration. I felt like a passenger in my own head, getting jerked around by every random thought and emotion. Today, that relationship is completely different. The noisy chatter in my head has quieted down. It's not gone, but it's more like background music than a blaring siren. My ability to focus is night and day. I can actually sit down and get lost in a single task. And that feeling of being present has carried over into the rest of my life. I have better conversations because I'm actually listening, not just waiting for my turn to talk while my mind is off somewhere else. Look, this isn't a magic pill. It's a skill. It takes a little consistency. But the payoff is enormous. It's a slow shift from being someone who is constantly yanked around by their own mind to being the one in the driver's seat. So, if you're a skeptic like I was, if you think this stuff isn't for you, I want to leave you with a challenge. Don't take my word for it. Don't even take the science's word for it. Run your own experiment. Just try this for 5 minutes a day for 1 week. You have absolutely nothing to lose, and a world of clarity, focus, and calm to gain. It is, without a doubt, one of the most life-changing skills you can build.